This is the NTT INDYCAR Series in 2025, and as you can see from your screens, sadly, it's a little bit wet here in Indianapolis for what was supposed to be the start of practice for the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500. This man, though, has a job ahead of him in 2025. Josef Newgarden stands on the cusp of history in the 108 runnings of this great race. So far, no one has ever won 3 Indy 500s in a row. Newgarden, as he approaches 2025, has 2 on the bounce. He is on a run for history. But can he do it? 32 other drivers will be trying to stop him. 33 other drivers will be practicing and attempting to qualify for the biggest show in sport, the greatest spectacle in racing. Welcome to Indianapolis. I'm Will Buxton. He's Townsend Bell. He's James Hinchcliffe. And it's raining. This is not the start that anybody wanted, but hopefully it might dry up a little bit later. So many great storylines this week. There's so much to talk about.
And we'll get to a lot of that, but days like today are classic Indianapolis. Let's not forget that these drivers spend all year, really year-round, thinking about these next 10 days and the start of the run-up to the Indy 500. This is the center stage in the global world of racing, and wouldn't you know it, it's not exactly rain, it's misty sprinkles on the center stage right now. That's all we have to dance with, James, is just this very slight moisture, and it just raises the anxiety in the garage area because you think you've got 3-4 days of practice and all this time to get your car sorted out. But you know as well as anyone, you sit there and you start to stress a little bit and you think you're going to run out of time and when's the rain going to stop, and maybe we've got to skip several of those things on the science project plan and start thinking about qualifying earlier than you want.
Well, I mean, you talked about it. I mean, you think about this race all year long, and it all comes down to this. It starts today, and the fact that the start is delayed is just so painful. You want to get going. You want to get started. You've had the open test, fine. You've been out on the track, but this is the week that really matters. This is the week that counts. And so when you are sitting in the garage, you're already second-guessing your first setup. You're already second-guessing what your first change is going to be. The worst thing to give engineers and drivers locked in a room together is more time.
And it's so frustrating because we'd had such a lovely week. Townsend was out playing golf on the golf course here on Sunday.
I was on a golf course. I don't know if I was playing,
yeah, we
but
play
yeah, I was doing my best.
Similar level of golf, don't we? Here's the schedule of what is due to take place over the next few days. Practice May 13th to 16th. Qualifying over the weekend is 17th, 18th. Truly one of the most exhilarating 2 days, not just in motor racing, but in any sport on earth. Practice comes your way on the 19th. Then it's Carb Day, May 23rd, and the Indianapolis 500 itself, May 25th. Coverage on May 25th, starting 10 a.m. Eastern. Do not miss a second of that. And practice here at IMS for the 109th Indy 500 begins.
And what the drivers are feeling in the cockpit, James, is nothing like what it felt like Saturday in IndyCar and oval configuration. Much smaller wings front to rear. All the cameras are leaned over to the same direction, all leaning left. Car designed to only turn left, and you feel those tiny little contact patches on these install laps as the Firestone is barely touching the ground.
Now, from my screen, I'm seeing that 2 cars are yet to be on pit lane. They are the 2 cars of the newest team in the NTT INDYCAR Series, Prema Racing. Kevin is down outside their garage. Kev, what can you tell us about the 83 and the 90?
So, Will, when we talk about which teams need the time the most and take advantage of all the time, it's probably this team. Any team that hasn't been here for a long time or a lot of time, and it's brand new. Racing in America and racing on ovals for Prema, but they're not out, and they're not going to be out in the next few minutes. This is not unprecedented. We see this at least every 2-3 years. Someone's not ready for opening day, and there's nothing specific. It's just they're a little bit behind on the preparation, and these cars will be on this track for the first time. They ran the road course car for the test in April, so these are super speedway cars that are still being prepared. They're just not quite ready yet. The number 90 of Callum Ilott should be out first, probably about an hour from now. And then Robert Schwartzman, who seems to miss a lot of practice time virtually every weekend, is maybe 90 minutes away. So they're praying. So the rain helped, kept them on even ground with everyone. But now they're praying that it stays dry until 6 so they can get on track sometime today.
Speaking of raw talent, Kyle Larson continues to circulate here with ease. 221.2, currently P7.
I still think it's astonishing what this guy can do, how adaptable he is, how he can just shift out of one car into another, completely different.
Look at how relaxed there's something about the body language here that just looks chill, James. Like, this is not like a guy that's entering his second ever IndyCar race.
Well, it's funny. I mean, we've seen this exact view of Kyle Larson when he's sitting in his Cup car, when he's sitting in his sprint car, these backward-facing, kind of back towards the driver camera shots, and he always looks like that. Whether he's wrestling a Cup car around Daytona or a sprint car around Eldora, he always has this calmness to his approach and to his body language, and it's no different here in Indy.
Looks super relaxed.
So he's running relatively on his own there. So you see him come now through the north end of the racetrack. Let's get a sense of what he's running out front by himself. Last speed was a 2:16.2. So you see him now heading down the back straight. He's got a little bit of a toe from the car in front. Again, we tend to look at about a 10-second filter when we're talking about the no toe laps. That's a lap just running all by yourself without the help of the draft from the car in front. So across the line this time with about a 3 or 4 second gap, Larson clocks in at a 2:17.7. So from what I've seen, not the sportiest lap with some help. Quickest no-toe time I've seen has actually been in the 2:18s already.
But having taken that hit at the end of the open test, how long does it take to get that confidence back up again? That is going to be the question for Kyle Larson, for McLaren. The fact that he is having to transpose himself from a very different kind of driving, a very different kind of racing, to be at an IndyCar, to be taking on this kind of a challenge, and also to be doing so on a track that is green, that is still quite slippery, having been raining all the way through the morning. So many challenges for Kyle Larson to face. One of the things, guys, that we were talking about earlier, is we just get a little replay here of the 51 car of Jacob Abel. Is he just bottoming out? Oh, yeah, just a little bit, putting two wheels well underneath the line.
Awfully low there.
Yeah, I mean, you see that quite a bit on road courses and street courses. The car's running low and scraping out the bottom. But on the ovals, these things are so ride height sensitive. The way the aerodynamics work on these cars at these speeds, you really want to try to keep the floor, which is one of the massive downforce generating elements of this car, in a very specific ride height bubble.
Is the track still cambered at that point, or does it flatten out below the line, creating that skid?
No, yeah, I mean, a lot of oval tracks, you see that sort of hinge point that is still, you could reach it as a driver. Indy, below the white line, it keeps that same banking all the way to the curbing or the grass, so you don't have to worry about the car hooking and hinging. But you're right, T-Bell, it was a little bit low, a little bit early in the corner.
It's concrete, I believe, those little curbs that you see down there, and if you think about how you pour concrete, it levels to gravity. So I do believe there's a little bit of a camber change where the curb is there. But one thing's for sure, it definitely unloads the car. You do not want your left front to touch those in any of the four corners, especially not in turn 4. We've seen a number of accidents there through the year where a driver is fighting to stay low to get clean air on his front wing and just tickles that thing. And we've seen some big crashes. I think back to Oliver Askew, Thomas Scheckter. I had a big one there. I didn't wreck, but should have. It can waken you up in a big way.
Hey guys, good to listen to you here. We're down here on pit road, and I've been listening to Marco Andretti. Welcome back to Marco. First start of the year for him. His 20th Indy 500, and on the radio, just a little frustrated. Can't get up to speed too well. Not comfortable in the race car. He said, at this point, guys, we might be in jeopardy of making the race. So they on pit road now, sitting, keeping their driver comfortable and calm as they make some adjustments.
That's a stressful situation to be in when you have that feeling from inside the race car. And look, you know, I spoke to Marco after the open test, felt pretty confident in the car that he had. He looked decent, you know, throughout the 2 days that Kevin and I, or that Alan and I were calling up here. And it was, you know, quiet confidence, I think, coming out of there.
So what changed?
What changed indeed. We've seen that time and time again, right?
Yeah, you talked about this a couple hours ago. You leave the open test, you come back here, and all of a sudden, either something doesn't feel right, or even worse, speed's not there that you thought you had. So hopefully the team can get to work with Marco and try to identify where that pure car speed might be hiding.
There's your new fastest man, Josef Newgarden, 2:26.9, the new fastest run. Hollywood up to 6th, 2:22.823. So it's Newgarden, Dixon, Castro Neves, Armstrong, Lucas, the top 5.
Invest Chevy looks good there. Hollywood on board. You see the Penske duo in front doing a little synchronized passing. McLaughlin going around Newgarden. Maybe these two already starting to get some of that race running practice in. Jack getting a nice double toe off both of them. Look at that, a pass by 1 into 3, pass back into 1. These aren't honest passes. It looks like guys are lifting. Both of them are lifting to kind of get their teammate back out in front. All the while, Hollywood Harvey catching them up.
Jack Harvey's last lap there, 2:20.6. So that toe, as you say, James, definitely helping to pull him along. Probably another 2 laps till he's there, maybe 1.5.
16th on the no-toe times right now for Harvey, just ahead of his teammate Hunter Ray, down in 17th, both in the 2:17.7 range. So nearly 2 miles an hour off what we're seeing as the fastest no-toe time right now, which is actually Kyle Kirkwood, late to the party, but quick once he got there.
This was the trailing distance when we saw Jack on his last run, where he started to struggle to get any closer, as Newgarden once again with ease towing up and passing Colton Herta. Like you said, don't know how honest of a pass that is, but one thing's for sure, Newgarden looks incredibly comfortable right away.
Confident is the word I was thinking of. I mean, you come in here as a back-to-back 500 winner, in both cases, last lap passes to get the job done. You know, he feels invincible, I think, coming in here with a car that's got the inherent speed, and that driver just so comfortable, like you say, behind the wheel.
How do you prepare for this? How do you train for this then? Because if you've got, obviously, if you're preparing for an entire season of IndyCar, you can't just train your body for one 500-mile race on an oval, as you say, with the stresses on your neck and on your, but you have to train for the entire season. Then you have the guys who are the specialists who are coming here just for that one race, who can theoretically train just for this one race. Is there anything specifically that you can do to better prepare yourself?
Well, number one, this is the longest race of the season, so endurance training important, right? You need to put your body in a position where it's struggling for several hours, not just an hour and 40 minutes. But you talk about neck. Look at the padding that all the drivers will run right here at different thicknesses, because in the end, there's no amount of training you can do that's going to allow you to hold your head up naturally with your neck for 3.5 hours of Indy 500 racing. Everybody is going to use the head pad there to use the car to hold your head up. It was another thing, just the benefit of running lots of laps is I would always have left side neck strain, because you think you're holding your head up the whole time and the muscles clenched. It's the difference of seeing Kyle Larson so relaxed behind the wheel versus the tension of being a rookie and the anxiety of doing this for the first or second time.
Yeah, I mean, learning to trust your head falling into the pad, learning to relax, and really using the car to your benefit. I think that's one of the things that experience gets you, not just here at the Speedway, but at other racetracks as well. You get to, you find all the little hacks on when to let your grip relax on the steering wheel, when to be able to let your head take a break and give your neck that moment to relax. It's a really key part of maintaining your endurance in a race.
Will, you kind of want to melt into the seat and melt into the headrest and just sort of, as James said, just trust the car to hold your body. And you can burn so much energy in the first 30 laps of this race because you're so jacked up. It's the Indy 500. And then you get to like the third or fourth stint and you think to yourself, God, why was I holding the steering wheel so hard? Why did, I burned so much of my energy in the first 10%, and you need all 500 laps.
His third victory here at the Indianapolis 500 on board with Will Power coming down the start-finish stretch into turn 1.
Oh, that's dicey.
It looks so subtle and so small, such a minor correction on the steering wheel compared to what you see on a rotor street course, but that is the back of that race car trying to pass the front, and at those speeds at a track like this, that is a massive, massive heart-in-your-throat moment.
Not is the case as Takuma Sato on track in the 75, and we talked about learning to trust again. Already he's made it through turns 1 and 2 and probably double the confidence that he had over an hour ago just to get a lap or two in the books.
The body as well, because that was a big hit.
Massive.
Yeah, absolutely huge. Just
qualifying trim, turn 1, wide open, hitting probably 236 on the way in and impacting the wall at well over 200 miles an hour. I think it was 95 Gs was the impact registered in the earpieces with the accelerometer for Takuma Sato. So that is a wallop.
And guys, when you hit the wall like that, everything has to be inspected inside the car as well. Your seat is made up of foam, energy absorbing foam that's designed to compress a little in an impact that size. He would have had a new seat made. The headrest has foam inside of it that would have had to have been replaced. Even your helmet can sometimes be rendered unusable, or it will not pass tech after a certain kind of impact. You have to get that inspected as well, and that was the level of impact that we saw from Sato in that test crash. So great to see him back out on track. And look, if there's one guy that isn't going to be phased by this, will be brave, get back in and pedal to the metal. It's this guy here.
Let's see how he's running. Last lap speed 212.3, a quick lap at 217.9. He's 32nd on the charts, but he's leading clean right now. And my hunch would be, Will, that the team's put a little extra crank of downforce in this thing to just get his confidence back and go run some laps and make sure that his car is ready to go also as Colton Herta starts to draft up.
If there's one driver who isn't short on confidence, it's Takuma Sato. To have the faith in the car, in yourself, after no running for 12 months and stick it in at the speed he did. And he was running fast in clean air. He was running fast with a tow. Actually, no, he didn't get a tow lap, did he? His fastest lap was actually one of the fastest of the day in amongst all the towed laps, and he was a no-tow lap. He was fully committed, full beans from the first moment.
Yeah, but he's finding his feet again. You see how quickly he dumps out of it. As soon as Colton Herta went by, he wanted no part of the turbulent air straight into turn 1. He is methodically taking his time to get back in the groove.
Something that people always talk about when we get to Indianapolis is looking out for that windsock, looking out for the strength of the wind, the direction of the wind when you're out on track. As a driver, for both of you, how much are your eyes on that windsock? How much does that affect the way in which you drive?
I mean, pretty much every lap. You know, the one at the top of the pylon here on the front straight, a massive tool, something that you quite literally use every lap of qualifying, most laps in race and in race running. Right now, it's perfect. That windsock is flat. It is hanging down, so nothing throwing these drivers for a loop.
And it has been at 0 wind for most of the day, but I'm just peeking up at that sock at the top of the pylon, and it's just starting to fly a little bit with wind coming out of the northeast, I believe. I'm going to call that 3 to 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's not anything that would in race downforce really affect the cars. I don't think the guys are checking on that one too much.
Like a couple of old fellas on the front porch we are.
Yeah.
Debating, is that 3 miles an hour?
Doing the the finger lick and hold it up in the wind.
So
and try
check
to
this
see.
out with Kiffin Simpson with completely solid front wing, undisturbed. So that's a lead car in clean air. And then Kirkwood, who now finds himself in that dirty air.
And so much more for
yeah,
Scott.
third car back, quite dramatic.
So again, that's such a great illustration of what the airflow is doing and how much more disturbed it is the further back in the train that you are.
And boy, do you feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you're running in clean air, all is right in the world. The car is working perfectly. Because the cars are all designed, Will, developed around clean air. There's not a dirty air wind tunnel that they're blowing. It's clean, pure, straight air hitting the wings.
How much fun is this?
This is
day one, being back in these cars, you know, low downforce, high speed, back in the pack and racing.
Depends how your car's handling. It's on paper, this is the most fun part of the day. This is the part you're looking forward to. You spend all day working through different setups, different configurations on aerodynamics, things like that. You put on the best of what you've discovered, and then you go out and get to really test it in a kind of mock race situation. So this is the point of everything that you've done up to this point in the day, and you'll go and do it again tomorrow. You'll spend the first few hours trying new things, new setup combinations, find the best of everything, throw it onto the car, find some traffic, find some friends, and go and play. The hard thing right now, though, Will, is it can really mess with your head a little bit because cars are joining this queue at different phases, like we've been seeing. And what that means is they've got different fuel levels, a different tire life. And sometimes you can go out, you'll be on maybe a bit fresher tires than the cars around you, but you don't really realize how many laps they have on their tires. So you're driving through them, you feel like Superman. Conversely, you could be out there on 25-lap tires, someone's on 5-lap tires, cuts through you and drives away, and you think you're out to lunch. You start to panic about what kind of setup changes you have to make to dig yourself out of this hole. But it's so important to just focus on your race car in these group runs at the end of a session.
Is that good prep for the race? Because you're going to find yourself in those positions where you're on old tires, someone's on new, and they're blasting past you and you're wondering, why am I dropping? Or completely, your immediate reaction of no suggests not.
It's usually the opposite, because normally everyone in the race is on a fairly similar program. The green flies at the same time for everyone. You're on the same tires. Most people pit within a certain window of a couple of laps. So the disparity in what's being run is fairly small. If we get some weird yellow that splits the field, then yes, you can have a little bit of that. But primarily, it's not the case. And, you know, it's really not until carb day, maybe the Monday practice as well, that you kind of get everyone a little bit more on the same page, and you really get a good sense of what the cadence of the race itself is going to be like.
Watching Alex Palou lead the group here, guys. I got a little nugget for you, James, to discuss on Palou's dominance this season. 4 wins in 5 races, right? We're not even in the Indy 500 yet. The last 5 IndyCar champions, not named Alex Palou, at most won 4 races in their championship season. He's already got 4 this early into the year. Will Power had 1, Dixon had 4, Newgarden 4, Dixon 3 back in 2018, Newgarden 4 in 2017. That's how insane his achievement is at this point this early in the season.
Couldn't agree more, but it's not over yet, because I also did a little digging. And I wanted to look at drivers that had won 4 races in a year, but not won the championship.
Oh, so you went digging deeper.
Yes. So with this same point system,
I like this.
4 wins and no championship. 06 Elio, 07 Dixon, 2016 Power, and 2020 Newgarden. I'll do you one better. Let's say he wins the 500. 5 wins and no championship. Kanaan 07, Dixon 09, Power 2010, Newgarden 2022.
But
let's
surely,
say
James,
he wins Detroit.
But surely there can't have been 6, James.
You would think so.
I would.
6 wins. 2011, Will Power won 6 races, did not win the championship. So it is not all over just because he's won 4 of the first 5 races.
Did anybody say that?
No, but I'm just telling you, I'm giving everybody at home a little bit of hope. There's reason to still pay attention and tune in, because there's precedent set over the last 10 years, 15 years, where a driver can have this level of success in a season but still not end up with the championship.
I mean, you look at who's second in the championship right now with Kyle Kirkwood. And, you know, being second for Kyle Kirkwood, that's a big deal. But his season reads like this: 5th, 8th, 1st, 11th, 8th. That's up against a first, second, first for Alex Palou. It's just so remarkable. I don't think we will stop celebrating his talent for a very long time.
There's only one driver who's been in the top 5 at every race in the first 5 races, and it's Alex Palou, who's gone.
And the question I've been asking is, when does somebody really start to mix it up and get aggressive? I thought maybe Graham Rahal, he tried defending last week as Palou went by, but understand that Newgarden starting to flex some elbows just a few laps ago. Take a look.
So you see him there behind that blue and black machine. That is Marcus Armstrong. A little bit of a defensive move from Armstrong, and then lifts. You saw the ECR machine. That was fresh out of the pits. That's the kind of thing you're going to see a lot in practice. Occasionally you'll see it in the race as well. And that's an experienced driver just getting out of it.
I think that was Rasmussen.
Yeah.
I don't think he expected Newgarden to be at the apex just there, but Newgarden trying to stay with that lead group as Rasmussen comes out, drops to the back.
I want to just throw out there before I get yelled at on Twitter, 1979, Bobby Unser also won 6 races and not the championship, but it was a different point system. That's why I didn't initially include it.
We are under a weather advisory here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Lightning in the area means we have a full course yellow, and now you see the checker go up on the pylon. That's because you have to have a 30-minute standstill once we have lightning in the area, and with only 31 minutes left on the clock, there really is no point in going any further than this. Well, a shame to have ended the day as it started, with a bit of weather out there on track, but we did at least get some running, and what's more, we got meaningful running out on track. The fastest driver, Will Power, 227 miles an hour, the only driver in the 227s. Then Newgarden and Palou in the 226s, Dixon and McLaughlin the 225s.
That's a meaningful running, a lot of laps run. 75 for Christian Rasmussen, Will Power there, 73 laps run. What did you see? Because I know you've been watching Rossi closely and you were impressed.
I was. I mean, I think single car pace, that car's quick. In traffic, he looked very decisive in his passes, and this is something we've been excited about. ECR's brought good cars to the Speedway for a long time. Alex Rossi has been a threat at the Speedway for a long time. That combination can be fierce, but when you look ahead of him, here's what I see. Penske and Ganassi, the same usual suspects, are running up front.
Yeah, you've got to consider Castro Neves Ganassi-esque based on the partnership with his team, Meyer Shank Racing. You know the 4-time winner will benefit from all of that. How about Jack Harvey, our own Jack Harvey? This guy is doing the TV gig all of the rest of the season, hops in for a one-off Indy 500 with Dreyer Reinbold Racing, and he's right there in 13.
And I'll say the same thing about Ryan Hunter-Reay and Ed Carpenter, 2 other month of May only drivers jumping in. They both competed in the open test earlier last month, but great to see a lot of these one-off drivers having competitive rides so far.
I think, speaking of some of the big teams, Will, got to think about Andretti, and specifically what Marco Andretti had told us earlier, which was he wasn't particularly thrilled about their raw speed in the race car. Looking at some other big names like Christian Lundgaard, which is off to such a great start. His teammate Pato O'Ward all the way down in 29th.
And Ferrucci, who we always expect to go well here, down in 27th. The 3 RLL drivers not where they want to be. And what about this for Prema? Only 6 laps in the end for Robert Schwartzman, 16 laps for Callum Ilott. Their fastest times down in the 2:17s compared to Rinus VeeKay, the 2:19. That is a tough day and a bitter pill for the Italian team down in 33rd and 34th.